excited about today. I feel like we're going to leave here on a cloud because we're going to be so empowered. It's just going to be awesome. But I also wanted to let you know, I come from the United States, and I did not vote for crazy-ass Trump. I just wanted to go ahead and clear that up. There's some crazy stuff going on in the United States right now, and it's almost embarrassing to say that I'm an American, which doesn't make any sense, but excuse me. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you today is to talk about fear. And what I'd like to ask right now is take a moment and think about what is the biggest fear in your life at this moment. Yeah, that you're not good enough. Husband, failure, retirement, illness, all kinds of things. We have all kinds of fears. And I don't mean to be rash, but fear is stupid 98% of the time. It really is, and I'll tell you why. It's because if you are worried or anxious or fearful, it's in the future, which means it hasn't even happened yet. And if it hasn't happened yet, it means we're making up a story about it. And as human beings, we always go to worst case scenario, right? But the truth is, statistically, worst case scenario almost never happens. But if we're going to make up a story about it, why don't we go to best case scenario instead and live in that energy? Because when you're anxious and worried, excuse me, then you got this cortisol, which is, the anxious anxiety that's going on in your brain and your body. But the truth is, fear and excitement manifest in the body the same way. So what if you were to say, rather than to say, I am scared to death of doing this, what if you said, I am excited about this? Because then you're going to switch from that cortisol to adrenaline and live in that energy and see how that goes. So the reason that I say it's 98% is because fear was designed for human beings back in our primal days when we were hunters and gatherers, and we needed that fear to keep us alive. But in the culture we live in today, that may only come up, 2% of the time in your life, where you really have the fear of fight or flight. So that means the other 98% of the time we're making up those stories. So let's just switch it. And so the next time you're afraid, ask yourself, okay, wait, what's the story I'm making up here? And think about it and see if you can switch it to a positive. Because that's not only going to change your energy and take your anxiety down, you're actually putting out a positive into the universe, which means good things can happen from that as well. So that's number one. Switch from the fear to excitement, if you possibly can. Number two is to check your motivation. Is your motivation for this thing that you're doing that's fearful, is that externally motivated or internally motivated? And I'll tell you a little story that explains what I'm talking about there, because that kind of probably doesn't make sense right now. So after I raised those 6 kids and launched them all out, as Charlotte was saying, I caught my husband cheating. I just curled up in the fetal position for about 6 months. I freaked out because all those years of raising all those kids, I sat on boards, I volunteered, I did all kinds of things. But I completely gave myself away to my family and my husband. I kept nothing back for myself. I didn't earn a single penny. I had no identity of my own. I had no career, and suddenly now I needed one. And I freaked out. I just curled up and cried for 6 months until one night I had this aha moment. And I just bolted up right in bed and I went, wait a minute, I don't have to stay here. I can't heal in this town. I'll never be anything but his ex-wife and their mother. I can't stay here, and I don't have to because the kids are grown and gone. So that's what led me to put everything in storage, sell my car, shut down my phone, and travel in developing countries by myself for a year. And it turns out, I thought what I was doing was weak and cowardly, and I was running away. But it turned out to be the best idea ever. And while I was out there, when I first got to Africa, I volunteered for 3 months with an organization. I was working at a women's empowerment center, helping with microloans. And at the end of that 3 months, I thought I would have fallen in love with a group or a cause or people, and I was just going to stay. But that didn't happen. And so at the end of that 3 months, I had to go somewhere. I had to be somewhere. So I just started traveling. I just had my pack, and I was staying in hostels, and I just started traveling every day or a couple of days. I just kept moving, and I moved all the way down the eastern coast of the continent of Africa. And when I got down towards Cape Town, I got to this little town called Storms River, South Africa. And this other young man and I got off the bus at the hostel, and we were the only ones there because it was off season. So we get off the bus, and he's like, hi, my name is Julian. He was from Germany. And I said, oh, I have a daughter named Julian. She's 24. And he goes, I'm 24. And I said, wow, that must have been a really good year. And he looked at me and he goes, are you going to do it? Are you going to jump? And I was like, hell no, I am not jumping. And he goes, why not? It's the world's highest bungee bridge. How can you pass this up? And I said, easy. I am deathly afraid of heights. No way, no. And then he looks up at me with these puppy dog eyes, and something happened to me that had not happened in many months. I kicked into mother mode. Because he looked up at me and he goes, please, please don't make me go alone. There's no one else here. This is the whole reason I came. Please don't make me go alone. And I just went, oh, here we go. So I decided that I would go with him, and I would go all the way to the end, but there was no effing way I was jumping. So, I went and paid my thing, and we watched people jump off the bridge for about half an hour before it was our turn, and they were flailing and screaming, and it was not pretty. And then they finally called our group of 8. We went down, and as we're walking down there, the person who was taking us down there turned around and he stopped us, and he goes, this is only a 5-minute walk. Remind yourselves it's only 5 minutes. And we're all looking at each other. Why is he saying that? What does that mean? And we went around the corner, and all of a sudden we understood. There was this wire cage they had put along the bottom of the bridge to walk us out to the jump. This wire cage, you could see below, all 213 meters, which is equivalent to a 60-story building. And, I'm freaking out. I mean, this is South Africa. There's no OSHA. There's no trial lawyers at the bottom. I mean, so I'm walking across this, and I started getting sick to my stomach. I thought I was going to faint. So I put my hands up here like a horse with blinders on at a race and willed myself to only look straight ahead. So I'm just feeling my way through this rickety thing. As I'm looking straight ahead, all of a sudden, I remember something that I hadn't thought about since I was 5 years old. And it was my only reoccurring childhood dream. And that was a dream of flying. I used to have these dreams. I was like flying over houses and mountains, and I always loved those dreams, and I'd wake up so happy. So all of a sudden, in that one moment, everything changed. Because I realized this could be my only ever opportunity opportunity to actually fly. And in that moment, it became mine. And I said, I'm going to fly. And we went up, and of course they called my number first. I'm like, Julian. But I was so happy because then I couldn't renege on my new instantaneous dream. So I got up there, and I did it, and I flew. And I feel like I have been flying ever since. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It completely changed my life. I am no longer afraid of heights. I could climb up this building and jump. No problem. So the reason I tell this story is, in the beginning, I was so afraid because I was externally motivated. I was doing this for Julian, and I was doing it because I felt like I should do it. So there comes all the fears. But the moment that it became mine, and when it switched from external motivation to internal motivation, that changed everything. Because all of a sudden, it was my dream. It was something I wanted, and then I was doing it for me, and every bit of the fear went away. So that's why I say number 2 is to check your motivation. Are you doing this because someone else wants you to do it, or because you should, or that's the way it's always done? You don't have to do it the way it's always done. You can come up with your own way of doing it. Or you can just switch your thinking, or find some way that it becomes your own, and you will be amazed at how many of your fears just fall away. Because then you get empowered. So that's number 2. And that is, check your motivation. So there are lots of ways that you can handle fear. And I ended up facing every one of my fears while out on that trip. And the thing about fear is, if you will walk right through it or face it, then the minute you do, all of a sudden, your shoulders go back. And you're like, wow, I did that. And the thing is that courage is the fastest route to self-confidence. So, like you said, feeling like you're not enough is your biggest fear. If you will go through and push through some of those fears, all of a sudden your self-confidence is going to go up, and you're going to feel like you're worth more, which you are worth a lot already. Okay? You're amazing. So your confidence is going to go up. And then every time, the more you do it, the more you push past fear, the more comfortable you're going to become with being uncomfortable. And pretty soon, not a lot of anything is going to scare you anymore. So you're like, I'm just going to go do this. I'm just going to go try it. Because here's the third thing. And that is, you'll handle it. Because you're sitting here today and living and breathing and listening and alive, that means you have a history of handling things. You're resourceful, you're capable, stuff will happen, and you figure it out. And this is the thing. We don't want to push past fear because we'd rather sit in our comfort zone and go, oh, I'm not going to do that. No, that's because bad stuff could happen. But the truth is, bad stuff happens even when you're sitting in your comfort zone. Because we're humans, right? I mean, I thought I had the world at my feet. I had raised those 6 kids and they were gone. I was like, yay, now we can have a normal life. My husband and I we can have nights out. And my whole world fell apart. So, you could get laid off. You could, all kinds of things happen, right? Even in your comfort zone. So if you're going to have to deal with stuff even while you stay there and you're kind of suffering silently maybe, it doesn't matter. Because stuff is going to happen, why not have it happen while you're going after your dreams? While you're going after the things that you want in your life? While you're pushing past your fear? Because the truth is, you're going to handle it. You will. You can. You already have. Think back in your life at rough times and how you handled it and moved forward anyway. So rather than keeping yourself small, push past those fears and try it anyway. Because even if stuff does happen, what's going to happen? You'll make it right. You'll figure out a way to make it work. Because that's what we do. And especially as women. Because we have this inner strength that, sorry about this, that men don't have. We have to grow babies in us and birth babies. And that birthing process is not easy. But we have an inner strength that basically has been asleep because of our cultural norms and our societal norms. And I can see how we got here because, way back in the day, we couldn't own property, we couldn't work. We had to wait for Prince Charming to ride up on his horse. And then when he got here and we got him, we had to just keep our head down and be the nice girl and run the house so we could keep him. Otherwise, we would have been out on the streets and homeless with no way to take care of ourselves. So that's how it got started way back in the day. But now I am praying that with each generation, we're going to get more and more and more strength, because that's not the way it is today. We can have our own property. We can have our own work and support ourselves. We do not have to keep our heads down and be the nice girls anymore. We can be strong, we can be solid and vibrant, and we can do anything we want to do now. And we don't have to let our culture and society keep us in the shoulds. We're just shoulding all over ourselves. So, what I want to say to you now is that pushing past your fear, and it usually comes right at the point of the leap of faith. Like right as you are about to jump, that is when resistance is going to come up in you. Right at that moment. And it will come up hard. And that's when you're going to have to really talk to yourself about it and go, wait a minute, all right, this is normal, this is natural, I'm just about to take this big leap, and this is when my stomach is churning and I'm, scared to death. Push through that moment and see what happens. So I have really enjoyed talking with you today, and I just want to let you know, I did write a book. I wrote a memoir about that crazy trip around the world. I have that back there. I wrote a book on 15 ways to push past fear. It's a tiny little book. You can read it in less than an hour. And I have a program. It's a 3-month life transformation program with a cruise in the middle. And so you can meet me back at my table over there if you want. Pun intended, I am an open book. You can ask me about anything. But here's what I want to say to you and leave you with. Whether you're married, have kids still at home, are tied to corporate or whatever, you are the only person who wakes up every day and lives your life. So why not live it your way? Love yourself. Love your life. Design a life that you love. You can alter it just a little bit. You can tweak it around the children and the spouse if you don't want to run away from them. And so I'm just saying, think about this. It's your life. You wake up every day and live it. So live it in a way that you love it. Why not? Push past the fear and love yourself. And your confidence will go up. And then you'll feel more self-worth. You'll feel better about yourself. I love you.